So, with respect to prophethood, we've examined infallibility and the significance of infallibility, and we've discussed some logical, rational proofs for infallibility. There is one other discussion about prophets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected them from anything that is a munaffir. A munaffir in Arabic, anything that is repugnant, inappropriate, unattractive, that causes people to be pushed away, and it gives them an excuse not to obey and follow the Prophet. God has protected His messengers from all these things that people find detestable or repugnant. So, what are some examples of that? An example of that is physical deformities. We believe no messenger of God had a physical deformity, such that if someone were to see the Prophet, they kind of feel this repulsion. Not only a physical deformity, but a contagious disease, like leprosy at the time, which was highly contagious, right? You don't want to go anywhere near a leper because that's a fatal illness and it's highly contagious. We believe, according to our traditions, God protected all of His messengers from that so as to not give anyone an excuse for not following the Prophet. Oh, he had a contagious disease and on the Day of Judgment he could argue, well, I really was concerned about my physical safety and health and that's why I didn't go around the Prophet. No. A physical deformity. In many societies, if you have a physical deformity, that's considered what? It could be either a curse in their eyes from God, from idols, from jinn, from whatever it is. They see it as a sign of incompletion, that you're struggling with something, you have a problem, right? There's a curse on you. Well, God protects His prophets from that, so people don't come up with these excuses. Oh, there was a curse on him, a spell on him, he has a physical deformity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not put a messenger in that position so that no one has an excuse. So that when God questions them on the Day of Judgment, why did you not follow Him? They have absolutely no excuse. There's nothing repulsive, repugnant about the Prophet. The Prophets never did anything repugnant. The Imams never did. To the point, now this is a very small example, to the point that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam states, even on the days, and he's teaching us, of course, otherwise we believe the Ahlul Bayt are pure, even to this extent. He says, even on the days that I eat food with garlic or onion, the Imam alayhi salam would leave the city of Medina. He had a farmland outside the city of Medina. He would go there for 3 days. Then if he wanted to eat those foods for immunity or, there are health benefits, then he would come back after 3 days. So that no one has an excuse, oh, I didn't go and meet the Imam because of so-and-so. To that point, the Prophets were sensitive. And the Imams were sensitive. So that no one has an excuse to say, oh, I didn't go and meet the Imam, even to this point, where I found, an unfavorable scent. Yes?
That have been kind of problematic because at the same time they need to strike a balance with normality and being normal, and sometimes if they're too perfect, could be an issue.
The Imams alayhimus salam are definitely normal from a human perspective. However, they're sensitive and their priority is not their comfort. It's people feeling comfortable around them. I've known scholars, by the way, like that. If they're amongst their people, meeting people every day, they're very careful with what they eat because they know people are meeting me, greeting me, seeing me face to face on a daily basis. So I don't want to put myself in a position where someone is disturbed by what I've eaten. See, that's not being abnormal. That's just being sensitive to people so you don't push anyone away, so you don't inconvenience anyone. So the Prophets and Imams, to that extent, they would be concerned about people not being, repulsed by them. And that's very important. Even wise people do that, let alone a messenger or an Imam. So anything that's considered repugnant in society, Allah has protected the Imams and Prophets from. One important discussion is their lineage. to have a pure lineage, pure ancestry, being legitimate, continuations of that lineage. Because in most societies, if someone is illegitimate, how do they view that person? Negatively. Even if that person is not at fault. But people will say, oh, you want me to go and follow an illegitimate person who's claiming to be a prophet? So one reason why all messengers of God have a pure ancestry, there's absolutely nothing repugnant in their ancestry, so as not to push anyone away and to give them an excuse for not following the Prophet or the Imam. And by the way, that is one reason why we believe the fathers, grandfathers, and grandparents of prophets were believers. They were not idol worshippers. They were not disbelievers. All of them were believers. We have a number of verses in the Holy Quran that point to that. One of them is verse 219 of Surah Al-Shu'ara, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, هُوَ الَّذِي يَرَاكَ حِينَ تَقُومُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees you while standing. وَتَقَلُّبَكَ فِي السَّاجِدِينَ. And you being moved in the line of as-sajideen, the prostrators. Well, what does that mean? And Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam gives us a beautiful explanation. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided you. You came from the ancestry, from the line of prostrators, meaning believers. And so your ancestry is pure. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. If you ask many Sunni schools of thought, they will tell you, oh no, his father was a mushrik. And the Quran condemned him, and he himself condemned his father. His father Azar, Ibrahim alayhi salam told him, believe, I'll do istighfar for you, I'll ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. But he kept insisting on disbelief and idol worshipping. In the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Ibrahim, now you have to condemn him. And the Quran tells us in one verse, after Ibrahim realized that his father is not becoming a believer, he's being stubborn and he's insisting on the wrong path, tabarra'a min. He condemned him. Well, see, we have a father of a prophet here who was a mushrik. Our response to that, very briefly, is that this was not his biological father. Azar was his uncle and stepfather. And your stepfather who raises you, who takes care of you, is considered your father in the Arabic language. We use the word ab. The Quran uses the word ab to refer to Azar. Because Ibrahim was orphaned at a young age. He lost his father, Tarukh. Tarukh was his biological father. How can we prove from the Quran that the father, the biological father of Ibrahim was a believer? Yes. Ahsant, exactly. He makes a beautiful dua towards the end of his life. See, initially when he was young, the Quran says he condemned him and he told him, I'll no longer pray for you because you are insisting on the path of disbelief. Then in the later part of his life, when he grew old and his bad father supposedly died, he was dead at the time, he makes a dua, رَبِّ جَعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي رَبَّنَا وَتَقَبَّلْ دُعَاء. Oh Allah, make me among those who establish prayer, and also from my progeny. He prayed for his progeny. Oh Allah, accept my dua. And then what? What's the dua that he makes after that? رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. Oh Allah, forgive me and my two walid. Walid in Arabic is the one who gives birth to you. That's the literal meaning of the word. So others, you can symbolically call them your ab, my father in Arabic. Like your teacher is your ab, your father-in-law is your ab. Symbolically, the one who takes care of you. But not walid. Walid means the one who gives birth. Maybe you can symbolically use it, but it's very unusual to use it in a symbolic sense. Walid means the one who gives birth, the father and the mother. Walid wal walida. In the end of his life, how do we know this was said in the end of his life? Because before that he prayed for who? His progeny. And when did Allah give him Ismail and Ishaq? When he was old, as the Quran states. So he says, رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. So he did dua for his parents. Well, I thought his father was mushrik. How did he dua? When Allah prohibited him from doing dua. That in itself is proof that his biological father was a mu'min, وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He mentions the mu'mineen after his own father. Can it be possible his father was a mushrik? You pray for your mushrik father, then you pray for the mu'mineen? Impossible. And the Quran captures this dua. It confirms it. It sanctions it. That's proof that his father was a believer. Yes.
In Surah Tawbah, where he actually prays for Azar, the very next verse Allah explains that he only prayed for his father because of the promise.
Because he gave him a promise, right. But then when it became clear to him that he's a disbeliever, he condemned him. So our argument with other schools of thought is that if he condemned him, how is he praying for him at the end of his life? These are two people. That in itself is indication these are two. Azar was not his biological father. Yes.
So normally, when we say "Rabbi ighfir li wa li waliday warhamhuma kama rabbayani saghir," is he referring back to when he became an orphan at a young age? Can he, like when you say warhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira?
Well, this is another dua that's mustahab to recite in qunut. He doesn't say that. He says, "Rabbi ighfir li," oh Allah, forgive me. "Wa li waliday wa lil mu'minina yawma yaqumul hisab," and for the believers on the day of judgment when you will, question us. So that's another dua we recite in our qunut. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt have taught us, oh Allah, have mercy on our parents just as they had mercy on us by raising us. But Ibrahim, that's not what he says. He just says, "Oh Allah, forgive my parents." He doesn't say because they raised me when I was young. So this is proof that the father of prophets are pure, their lineage is pure, and there is nothing repugnant. This is the main idea that we conclude with. The prophets of God are protected from God not only from sins, they're ma'soom, it's a given, even from anything that's repugnant in society. Something that is repulsive. It repels people. Yes, being poor does not repel people. You could be a very wise man, a very good person, and yes, you're not a millionaire. That's not repulsive. Yeah, maybe the rich people don't like that. I'm sure you'll find people coming up with excuses, but these are not valid excuses. We have great leaders in our secular history who are not millionaires. They were poor people, but they had a lot of respect. We're talking about things that society finds repugnant, such that it gives them an excuse not to go after that prophet and follow that prophet. Prophets of God are all protected from that. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين.